When I first signed up in February, I thought within a few months someone would contact me. I called 3 times a week and spoke to the governor's office asking them what's going on, and no one knew anything. They said, "Don't worry, we're in the middle. The program was just named, but we didn't create a program yet. So just be patient. Someone will get in touch with you." And I guess in the summer, July, I finally received a letter saying that yes, we know you're registered and you've been approved, and someone will be in touch with you. Not too long later, then we had a meeting with the rebuild process with the caseworker, and filled out the paperwork, left. 2 days later, calls me up. You need to come back. All the paperwork isn't. Excuse me, stop. All the paperwork isn't complete. I forgot to have you sign a ton of stuff. So we had to take off of work again to go back and fill out additional paperwork. And about 2 weeks later, I get another phone call saying that my paperwork was shredded and I needed to come back down and refill out paperwork again. So sent my husband down, and he waited there a half an hour. The caseworker wasn't available, and he couldn't wait. He was late for work. He had to leave. I get a call about a half hour later. "Oh, I found everything, and we're okay again." So we've been back and forth. I have my other caseworker for the acquisition program. He is wonderful. He, listening, empathetic to everything, tries very hard, does make phone calls for me, and we're just literally waiting. I know my paperwork now. I mean, it's just taking too long.
What town do you live in?
I'm in Oceanside.
You're in Oceanside.
I am over 51% damaged. My structure is damaged. I'm waiting for a sign to come on my house that they're going to tell me I can't live there soon.
Did you get an award letter?
I did get an award letter. It was nowhere near. I have to knock my house down. My house can't be raised. My house can't be raised because of the way it was built, and I'm one of the very few homes in the area that have a basement. So, and I have a converted garage that's another bedroom, and you can't raise a home like that. And New York Rising has all agreed, and they even said you're better off doing the acquisition because you'll need too much money to raise your home or to knock it down and rebuild it. So I have no problem. That's fine. What I'm going through with my children being in the house. They don't like when I walk into the basement. They don't like when I go into the basement. She gets concerned that I'm not going to come upstairs. I'm going to drown. Are you okay? We're fine. She recently has now allergies from the basement, the dust, and everything from the cement. She just take medicine just to live in my own house. So it's an experience, not a fun one, not fair. And my taxes haven't gone down. I've been paying full taxes. My taxes are very high. After you send the letter in, and all your all your documentation in, they reduce your taxes by a minimal amount, but they've raised it by 4%. So it really makes a difference.
Are you living in your house?
I am in my house. I am in my house.
And you're looking really to do the acquisition?
I am looking hard waiting for the acquisition. I had the appraisal. I had my appraisal done privately, and then I had their appraisal, and they came in a lot less than my private appraisal. Now they're going to knock it down more because they're going to deduct what I received from FEMA, and then whatever receipts I have to put to what I spent the money on. But at the time, you're paying people in cash. No one's taking checks. No one's taking credit cards. You have someone that comes to do my hot water heater. No plumbers. Everybody was busy. Come on, I need someone to help me do it. He's a licensed plumber. He says, yeah, $300 in cash. I give him. And no one wants to. Or people. I have one person that I did some work. I can't find him anymore, and I paid him in cash, and I need a copy of the bill, and I can't find it. So shouldn't be. I'm not looking to build a mansion. I just want what I had.
Did you get an SBA loan?
I got denied 4 times, and then when I finally got approved, I can't afford it. I cannot afford to pay that amount of money back every month.
What's your biggest concern with the New York Rising program?
When are we going to see the money? When am I going to be able to come home and say, I can move, or just the relief of my children being able to have their full house. We basically put a Band-Aid on the house, not knowing this program was coming out. And I don't have flood insurance. So it took, for
A real
me,
Band-Aid?
so for me, it was, it's really been pulling teeth and asking for favors for a lot of people. Because I didn't have the money to repair my house. And the money, I received the max from FEMA, but that didn't, you had to pay for housing, you had to pay for 3 weeks living in my sister's attic. Grateful for her, thank God, and for my job and my husband's job that allowed us to take the time off to sit in front of the house from 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon waiting for something to happen.
My name is Michelle Middleman. I started a Facebook group called Sandy Victims Fighting FEMA after we lost our house in Freeport. We were ultimately denied coverage for our structural damage by the NFIP based upon what's come to be known as the Earth Movement exclusion. So I started this Facebook page, Sandy Victims Fighting FEMA, to see how many other people were similarly situated and how many people were being denied coverage that they had paid for years. And unfortunately, I learned there's many people, and we suspect there's as many as 20,000 people in New York and New Jersey that have been denied coverage. So our group morphed from fighting FEMA to now fighting New York Rising, unfortunately, because here we are now 13 months later, and New York Rising has paid very, very few people. As of this morning, I think it was 5 people out of all the thousands of applicants who have applied.
Okay, so what has your experience been with New York Rising from the initial, like you heard about it? I know when I heard about it, I was pretty excited, and a lot of my fears were quelled in the initial.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what the experience has been with New York Rising
Sure.
since then?
Initially, we were thrilled when New York Rising came to be. We thought, all right, we've been denied coverage, but now the state was going to come in and had gotten federal funding, and that they were going to administer the funds fairly. Unfortunately, it's been a nightmare, as everybody has experienced.
How so?
With endless documents having to be sent over and over and over again. Our Redwell is filled with documents so heavy I can't even carry it anymore. Doing it over and over again, different case managers, people not knowing the answers.
What about these letters that people have gotten?
Well, the award letters that people got right before Election Day, coincidentally, were mailed out en masse. In my opinion, they were done because the Election Day was coming, the 1-year anniversary was coming, the governor knew that there would be very bad publicity if, in fact, nothing had been done. So instead, they rushed out these award letters that are bogus. They're not tied to truth in most cases, and they're not tied to reality in other cases. So in our case, our house was condemned, the house was torn down, and all they do is take the square footage, they multiply it by 160 a square foot, they take that a number, then they deduct from that what we've gotten from insurance, and they give us a net award. In our case, it came out to be less than $46,000. So that plus the $80,000 we got from flood, we have $126,000, and there isn't a builder on Long Island who will rebuild for that amount.
Where did the 160 number come from?
I have no idea. I've been told it's tied to HUD somehow, HUD low income levels, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I heard something in the news, some kind of statement, I don't remember exactly who it was, but someone, I think out of the governor's office, talking about how, that they want to do this right, and that's why it's going so slowly, and that it is expected to get rolling, and money is supposed to start flowing. What do you say to the notion that, they want to do it right, and that's why it's going so slowly?
I understand they want to do it right, but they should be able to do it more expeditiously than 13 months and leave hardworking middle-class people homeless for 13 months. I mean, I understand it's complicated, but this is certainly not the first storm in history, and there should have been protocol they could have gone to and could have followed, and they should have been doing this a long time ago.
Do you think that the situation, the reticence to give out money is related to the idea that after Hurricane Katrina, people ostensibly got money and didn't use it for what they were supposed to?
But that's what we're told. I don't believe that that's entirely the problem. I think it's a lot of people who are incompetent, who just can't make decisions and just won't make decisions.
Okay. And what are your hopes for tonight? Who is Jon Kaiman, and what are your hopes for tonight?
Jon Kaiman is the head of New York Rising for Long Island. He was handpicked by Governor Cuomo himself. I'm thrilled that he accepted our invitation to be here. I believe this is his first public engagement since taking that position, and I've been driving him crazy. So I'm glad that he, took this opportunity to meet with people who are suffering, and hopefully he's going to answer their questions tonight.
Well, we did live in Long Beach. We have an empty lot now of our house at 27 August Walk in Long Beach. The house was just torn down. That was my birthday present. A year later,
And so tell me what you've heard about, what you initially heard and how you felt about New York Rising when you first heard about it, and then what's been your experience since?
Okay, when we first heard about New York Rising, we were very excited. We are lucky, though we were one of the few people that were selected for an SBA loan. We were happy about that because the insurance did not do right by us. We took the loan, but we have not used it because we were going through the whole process, fighting the insurance because they only gave us $29,000. When my husband and I could no longer emotionally fight the insurance, we hired a public adjuster. But it just so happens that after I wrote the NFIP a letter with my premium payment for this year's insurance, I explained a little bit of how I felt about where we were at and that I was paying the premium on a home that we weren't living in, that we had no contents for, and I was paying the premium under protest. We hired the public adjuster in April. I wrote that letter in, I believe, September. Within 3-4 weeks after I wrote the letter, it said they sent us an additional $73,000. But now we have to give the adjuster $8,600 of that. Okay, that's their 8%. So that cuts our, we're here today because we've already laid out $30,000 to get an empty lot.
Okay, and when you first heard about New York Rising, how'd you feel?
We were so excited because we would be mortgage-free. My husband and I are senior citizens. We have our home equity loan down to, now we have it down to $3,000. We were going to take a cross-country trip this year. That's what we were going to do. No, we're not, obviously. We're living in a 3-room apartment.
And what's your experience now with New York?
Okay, with New York Rising, we received a letter of what they were going to give us. How do you say that? I don't know how to say that. Award. And it said, congratulations. And we were so, because it says, congratulations, we're giving you $184,000. We were so excited because that's all the additional money we need.
Sounds pretty good so far.
Because we need $280. We're adding money on our own because we're doing a handicap ramp, because we're elevating, we're doing a handicap bathroom. We both have reasons for that.
So you got the letter and you felt good.
We felt great till I read on. And it says if you have an SBA loan, you have to use that first. So here we would have been mortgage free. We were taking the SBA because it's 1.6, but we were going to relive our lives again with another big mortgage. But now when they get the insurance check, they're going to deduct that from SBA. We can't build our house for less than $280,000. So when we heard New York Rising was going to give us $184, and then we got the $100 from the insurance, we thought, yes, we'll be back home soon. That's not, we think we're safer now to try to work out with the SBA loan to drop our loan to $180,000, and then when we get our elevation money for mitigation from the ICC and from the city of Long Beach, we're on a list for mitigation money for there. We are hoping then to deduct that loan by another $50,000, we hope. So then we'll have a mortgage of $130,000. And our home is the only thing we had to leave our children. Unfortunately, now they'll have a home with a mortgage, but they said they don't care. We've given them everything they need. They're awesome. They don't care.
Welcome. Thank you for coming tonight. As you all know, my name is Michelle Middleman. If you're here, you've heard of Sandy Victims Fighting FEMA on Facebook. And hopefully you're all members and are spreading the word as well. I called the meeting originally tonight so that we could strategize and come forward with another idea of how we would all try and get back home and keep the pressure on New York State to get the money flowing finally. Our family is still no better off, as most of you are, 13 months later. You know, our house in Freeport was destroyed. It was condemned torn down, and that's where we stand now 13 months later. We've been living in a one-bedroom apartment all this time with my son sleeping in a closet with a dog and 2 cats, and it's crazy. And like all of you, FEMA rental assistance is about to run out. We got our last check, and I'm not quite sure how we're going to pay our rent going forward. It's kind of crazy, and I'm fearful that a lot of us will be forced into foreclosure because we're going to need to pay rent, and we're not going to be able to pay our mortgages at the same time. So with that said, I've been driving Jon Kaiman crazy privately and calling and on behalf of all of us. And I have to say, as I posted on Facebook, that he was gracious enough to meet with me about a month ago to talk about all the problems that we're all experiencing, from the interim mortgage assistance problem and the fact that that has not been implemented, the fact that we've all been given $160 a square foot to rebuild, which on Long Island we can't build, the fact that the acquisition program is not up and running, the problems go on and on. And he was very understanding and very gracious. But here we are now, it's a month later, and I'm still homeless, and a lot of you are still homeless, and we need more answers and more clarity. And I want to extend a warm welcome to Jon Kaiman, who is here today. I believe if he was what I just want to say, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Jon, you've come to hear. After he's done speaking with you, we're going to do a Q&A. We have the microphone set up. So if we could orderly, one by one, ask our questions, and hopefully Jon will have the answers, and hopefully we're all going to leave here feeling a little better tonight. With that, I welcome Jon.
Thank you and good evening. You know, certainly I appreciate that anybody who's been through the storm is in a place where they don't want to be right now. Obviously, you're here, you're concerned, you've been out of your home or your home's been damaged, your resources are running low. We understand that, which is why this whole program was put together. It's hard to make sense out of how long it takes to implement this type of program. This is not something that happens every day. This is not something that has happened before. We have never had the federal government come and say, we're going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars to help fix your homes. Normally, what happens is you have a storm, you have insurance, it covers what it covers. If you dispute their answer to you or their adjustment, then you go to court. What doesn't happen is the federal government comes in and says, we're going to give you tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's what the American people have decided to do here in New York. And so the job of the folks in New York are to make sure that we do this properly. We have to go by the rules that they set when they give us these billions of dollars. Because it's taxpayer money, federal money. And so nobody disagrees with that. I know that there's a number of rules, and if we go through the rules, a lot of them make sense. Some of them might not make sense to everybody all the time, but I think everyone would agree that nobody should be paid for the same repair twice. Nobody should get money for a home that wasn't damaged. Nobody should get money for their home when they don't live in that home. Right? So we need to make sure that the money that we're sending is to the right place. We need to make sure that the money that gets sent is for the damage that exists. And so what do? We create a program. It took 6 months or several months to get money coming to New York, flowing to New York. That's what the governor did and our U.S. senators did, our congresspeople. We then have to create the program. We have to hire the hundreds of people to go and do the inspections, to open up the cases, to learn how the system works, to make sure that we're doing it in the proper way. We then need to take that information that we've obtained through the inspections and create a value. What is the value of your damage to your home? And then we need to make sure that we're not paying for the same repair twice, so we have to deduct what other money was received or is going to be received. And there are rules that we inherit. We don't make up all the rules. The federal government says, we will give you these billions of dollars if you abide by these limitations. And so we say, okay, absolutely. Give us the billions of dollars because we'll adhere to the limitations. We'll make sure we follow every single dollar. We'll make sure we set up the structure so that we can follow every dollar. We'll make sure that we don't pay twice. We'll make sure that we verify every single benefit that we give. We'll make sure that we don't duplicate the benefits. And people then a year later say, well, how come I don't have my money yet? How come I'm still out of my home? How come my home is still damaged? Where is the money? And the answer is we are in a process that is slowly but surely getting us to the place where we will be able to distribute those dollars. You know, there's, people ask me, well, we only distributed 4 checks or 5 checks. It's not that it took a year to distribute 4 checks. It's that it took a year to build the program. And now that we have it running, we've started issuing those checks. So those checks are going to start flowing more and more each day, each week, each month. The money is there, and the money is coming. And it's going to the people in need. It's going to the people who were damaged by Sandy. It's going to the people who applied for our program and did so with good faith. And we have really good, smart people trying their best to get that money through.
It's not fast enough.
It may not be fast enough, but it's a program that exists and it has to be created and has to be implemented in a certain way. The question wasn't whether or not we could just give it out in 6 months. The question is, if you want to give this money out, if we wanted to distribute these federal dollars, were we willing to set up the program in such a way that we can follow those dollars and make sure that we meet all the rules, meet all the guidelines, and then distribute the money? The answer was either not to have the money or to take the proper time to do it. And I know that nobody wants to hear that, well, other disasters across the country, it takes years before they get to where we are today. Nobody wants to hear that, but that's the reality of putting together a federal program where we're giving away hundreds of thousands of dollars to individual homeowners. And so again, we appreciate that everybody who is eligible for this money should get that money. And you should get it as quickly as possible. And you shouldn't have to fill out paperwork in triplicate. And you shouldn't have to go through the anxiety and stress and frustration of dealing with another government agency. But you're dealing with a government agency that didn't exist a year ago. It didn't exist 8 months ago. We had to build this multi-billion-dollar agency, find people who could staff it, make sure that we implement it right, understand what the rules are, make sure that we didn't do anything wrong, because there's still an IG's office that's going to come and check every single dollar. And we don't want to have to go through investigations afterwards. We have people from Louisiana, we have people from, I'll ask some questions in a moment. We have people from Iowa, we have people from Mississippi, people who went through other storms and other natural disasters. And they have all experienced the same thing. And so the question for us is, how do we do this? How do we do it right? And so what's the program? So I'll take a few moments and I'll explain the programs that exist. And then I'll answer your questions. I'm here, by the way, because the governor put together this program so that we can help people get this money. And we would love to be able to say, here are all your checks. Do you think people in this program are waking up in the morning saying, boy, I wish we're going to try to wait another 2 weeks before we send out the money? We're trying to figure out how to do it right. So what is the program? The program is a housing recovery program where there's right now 20,000 applicants in our program. 20,000 homes, that's 30, 40, 60, 70,000 people who have applied for some type of monies for recovery, for repair, or for rebuilding of their homes, reconstruction. We can give up to $300,000. You can get another $50,000 added on top if you are elevating your home. There's some other scenarios where you can get another few dollars for under various circumstances. The program only allows money to go for the general construction of the home. So there's limitations on what can actually be built. It has to be for an eligible thing. We're not necessarily building the home that you lost. We are not your insurance company. And we don't want you to think that we are. That's not something we are allowed to become. We are not replacing the value of what was lost. We're providing assistance to help you get to where you need to be so that you have a home again. And so we're not replacing the deck and the pool and the landscaping. And I know those of you who are not in your home aren't concerned about the deck and the pool and the landscaping. You're concerned about the structure of your home. But we need to make sure that the money we give is to build something consistent with the scope of the work that we designed based on the rules of the program that we were handed. And so we can give up to $300,000 to the reconstruction of the home. We had to figure out an amount to make sure that if you had a complete rebuild, we would be able to give you sufficient resources to reconstruct a home. So the number that was authorized is $160 a square foot, and there's people who say that that's not enough, and I understand that. There's contractors, developers who could say, I could build a home for $200 a square foot, I could build a home for $185 a square foot, but the guideline is substantially less. And if you speak to most of the contractors out here on a broad basis, they'll tell you that $160 can build you a decent home in Long Island. I'll tell you this. Anyone who can come to us and show us that it's not working, we invite you to do it. But the assumption that it doesn't work, the assumption it doesn't work, right now, we've just started this process where we're closing out the cases. So if you're going to reconstruct your home from scratch, and you're willing to come to us, and you have your contractor, who's an authorized contractor, who does this for a living, and they're going to tell us, and we have some pretty smart people on our side too, and we've studied and analyzed this from a local perspective, from a national perspective, and we know how much it costs to build a home here. This is not something that's new to us. And so the assumption is that you can spend more. We understand that you can spend more, but we are not your insurance company. What we're saying is that we're going to give you this amount of money to rebuild and reconstruct a home. If you want to make it bigger, better, wider, broader, whatever you want to do with it, then
You're taking the money from the insurance company and enveloping it into your program.
Actually, what we're saying is the insurance company, if the insurance company is paying, would pay for something, and I'll address that point actually, if the insurance company would have paid for something that's outside the scope of what we pay for, then that's not a deductible duplication of benefits. So the only thing that we're deducting is what they would have paid for anyway. And so if they're saying that that they're within the same scope that we would bill, then it's not extra. And so what I would suggest is this: if anyone, everyone's, and I sense and I appreciate the frustration. But if you are ready to close on your property, if you have your award letter in, some of you do, some of you don't. If you then sit and talk with our review team, who will go through it with you or your contractor, and if you are then ready to close and say, this is the amount that you're getting and this is the amount that your contractor, who will sit with us as well, I believe we're going to be able to get you to the finish line on this. And I don't know that there's a lot of people that have been through that process yet, because I know that we've just started that process where we're bringing people in and reviewing these things and distributing it, because we've just finished the first phase of our program, where we've now issued 4,000 award letters. We have 10,000 people, by the way, who have completed the application. We have another 10,000 people in our system. So we're anticipating upwards of 20,000 applicants. But the first 4,000 that went out, we are literally at the point where we are now prepared to meet with them. We've been over the last few weeks. We are digging down. We are verifying all their benefits. So someone comes to us again. They say they got their award letter. They see the amount. What do they need to do? We then need to verify how much money they got from their insurance company, how much money they got from FEMA. And we can tell you, and we will talk. We've talked to the contracting associations, and we will continue to talk to them. And we are open to further discussion. But we got to get to the point where you can show us that this doesn't work with your home. We've not gotten to that point. When you get to that point, individually, your home, your only concern in this context is your particular home. You come to us with your home and your money that you've been awarded. You tell us that this works or doesn't work, and we're going to sit down and explain how we think it could work. And if you show us that it doesn't, we're going to reevaluate it. But the assumption that it's just not enough money before we even start
It's not
is...
at that point. Nothing's happened.
All right. There's a lot of different issues that people are concerned with. But when I was addressing, certainly, is when I mentioned a number of people raised a buzz about it. And so I know that there's a lot of other issues. A lot of other issues involve how do we get the program to the point where we are now distributing checks. If you've already done the work, can we give you the money that you already outlaid? And if you haven't done the work, can we give you the money and work with your contractor and get you going so that you have sufficient resources to build your home? That's what we're planning on doing. That's what we're ready to do. And that's what we've now started to do. It's just been initiated. We've just issued our first few checks. We've just had our first few closings. Next week there'll be more. The week after that there'll be more than that. And ongoing from here on in. If you haven't gotten an award letter, you could be days away from getting an award letter. We have another batch of almost 2,000 award letters going out next week. And then there's going to be another tranche behind that. It's going to keep going till everybody's through the process. So yes, I understand that there's parts of this that don't make sense to you. I understand that you might have some specific case or argument or reason to believe that this is not going to work perfectly for you. I understand that you're a year out of this storm and you're at wit's end and you just have no more resource to get yourself through the next few months. And so we are telling you, and I'm certainly telling you, that we've set up our system, we began the issuing of the checks, we've started the closings, and now we're at the point where we are moving quicker and quicker. And so if you've gotten your award letter, within a matter of days, I expect the verification of benefits process is going to be done. If you don't have your award letter, can I ask how many people have not received any award letter from us?
Which award letter?
There's an award letter. In other words, if you apply for our program, what happens is this. You apply for the program, You meet with a caseworker. The caseworker goes into you, finds out explains what all the eligibility issues are. You then get an inspection team to go over to your house. They look at the house. There's
Then they lose your paperwork.
excuse me, there's thousands of people whose homes we're going to and doing inspections, 3, 4, 5 hours, and we're writing 30 or 40 page report. You want to speak, ma'am? You want to do this?
8 minutes. Excuse me. Who are you? Who are you? Did you lose your home?
Ma'am, we're trying to give people information. If you want to speak, then you can speak first and I'll speak after you.
Another person.
Twice, paperwork lost. Everybody, just so you know where we stand.
All right, so with tens of thousands of applications, what happens with paperwork is every single application has to be scanned. And so we send it out for scanning, it comes back. Is it gonna work perfectly all the time? Nobody's paperwork, as far as I understand, is lost. It might not be, if they can't find it at a particular time, they say, we can't find it, we lost your paperwork.
Was shredded by mistake.
Well, I haven't heard that one, but okay.
I got to know black people.
Oh, wait.
And again, I appreciate that, and so, okay, and that all might be correct. And I have no reason to doubt that anyone had a frustrating experience with their paperwork. And so what are we trying to do? We have people that didn't work here, we train them, we're trying to get through a process with thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages of documents. And yes, there's gonna be, there's gonna be some questions about a particular document here. And so what we're doing is making sure that each file gets scanned so that we don't necessarily have to have the piece of paper. We have it in the computer. And it's working for thousands of applicants. But if somebody is struggling with it, our goal is to get you to the right place. I can't dispute that someone told you that they lost your paperwork. But nobody has been delayed in the process to the extent that other people have gotten ahead of them, because we've just started issuing this. We've just got to the point where we're starting to issue the awards. And as I was saying, the award is someone comes and does the inspection. They then put in the report. The report gets uploaded into the computer. It's a 20 or 30 page document. We then, hold on, let me explain the program. So then what happens is, we then gather all the other benefits that you've received, because you can only get paid for each repair once. You can't get paid twice for the same repair. And so we need to make sure that we deduct whatever other monies you might receive. If FEMA gave you $50,000 for the reconstruction of your home, well, there's thousands of people. I mean, FEMA gave out millions and millions of dollars. So there's people who got money. Okay. Okay. If FEMA gave you $39,000, then that money would be deducted from what we would give you. Is that wrong? I mean, is it, so they're giving you money for the reconstruction of or repair of the damage. And so we're saying if FEMA gave you whatever, if they gave you $10,000, if they gave you $50,000, if they gave you $5,000, whatever they gave you, we have to deduct. If it's for construction. If they gave you money for contents, we don't deduct that. But if FEMA gave you money strictly for reconstruction, then we have to deduct that money. If your insurance company, your homeowner's insurance, if it's flood insurance, whatever it is, if they gave you money for repair, reconstruction of that property, we have to deduct that. That's the federal rules, that's the guideline, that's HUD requirements. Because they're paying you for the reconstruction. And if they gave you money for different things, if they gave you money for the deck, or they gave you money for contents, or they gave you money for rent, or they gave you money for other things, then we don't deduct that as part of a duplication of benefits. And we're prepared to sit with you and go over to make sure that we don't deduct something inappropriately. And so, hold on. And so what you then have is a letter that we will send out that says, we've estimated the cost of repair of your home. Clearly, people are going to dispute what that number is, but we've estimated it through our inspection system, where people might say, or the inspector might say it's worth, the damage is $100,000. We then will deduct the duplication of benefits, and we send you a letter saying, this is the award. You're getting, if you have $50,000 in other money that you got, it's $100,000. We'll give you the $50,000.
I got a letter months ago. Is it valid?
The letters first went out. The letters first went out in the middle of October. So no one got a letter before middle of October. So in October we sent out about 4,000 letters, and those letters basically explain this is what the estimated cost of repair are. And so then what we're now doing with those first 4,000 people is making sure that all their numbers are verifiable. And so the next step for us is to go through a verification of benefits to make sure that the number we gave them is consistent with the numbers that are in the letter. And then that takes more time than we wish it did. We have to go to everybody's insurance company. And we have to make sure. Now, can we try to adjust that? We're looking at ways to maybe make it go quicker. Maybe we can get people to sign an affidavit saying that this is the money they got from their insurance company. And so there might be other ways to speed it up. We're looking at that. We're looking to see what other folks did. But the insurance company can verify it, if they would, rather quickly. That was the thought, and that was the hope at the beginning. And we're realizing that's taking a long time, and it's frustrating to everybody. But that could be, say that's a multi-month process. Say it takes 2 months to verify all the benefits. Once we get the verification done, we then look to the homeowner and say, okay, well, you now have, the award would say $100,000. Do you agree with this number? You could say, no, I don't agree with it. Maybe I think I had $200,000. I have receipts. I have money I already paid out. I think it's going to cost me more, and here's why. We say, okay, we'll have a review process. Let's go through the whole process. And remember, there's thousands of people going through it. We're doing the best we can, and we're going to try to make sure that everybody gets through it. And there are a lot of people that are going through it with us, one person at a time. And we are digging down to find out, did we not include the bulkhead? Did we not include the elevation? Was there some other issue? Could they not have gotten into the house, so they never went back into the house? And therefore, there's some other piece missing.
That is not what happened to me. Okay, but that's generally what happens. And so then you take thousands of people and you say there's 1,000 different variations of a general process, right? I mean, you come up with a program where you're going to send out 5 people to come and look at damage and say this is what the value is, and then we're going to give you money that you don't have to pay back. Even though you might have had insurance, maybe you didn't have insurance, and we're going to say no, but this is something extra on top of that. This is a grant. But there's going to be conditions, and as long as you agree to those conditions, this is what you have to do. We have to verify our end, you have to commit to your end, and we're going to try to get you that money. And then you're going to hopefully be able to rebuild or pay for the stuff that you already did. And a lot of people, by the way, did work already, and a lot of those folks are getting some of those dollars paid back. And then they have additional work that needs to be done, and we're working through that. We had to create a contractor program because we know that a lot of people get money, and we needed to figure out how to make sure that the money goes to the construction. Because people have a lot of different needs, and we learned from Louisiana, and HUD put additional regulations on it because of experiences down in New Orleans. And so, I understand that, but it's actually, it's New Orleans money. This is national money. This is not Long Island money. Long Island's not paying for this. Federal government's paying for this. Federal government is paying for this. The federal rules apply.
So
that's just how it works.
We paid for the earthquakes. We paid for.
I understand that. I agree. I agree, and that's a good point, right? The argument is we pay for everybody else's disasters. Our tax dollars have gone down south, across America, across the world. Isn't it appropriate that we get money too? And the answer is yes. And so the American people have given New York State $30+ billion, and that's what's happening. So now it's here. But there's still rules. There's still an obligation to make sure that it goes by the HUD standards, the HUD rules, the HUD regulations. And they check every dollar, every single application. Hold on a second. Every single application. When we finish a document, it goes up to HUD. There's a special program. They then check it off, and it goes into their system, and then they release the funds. That's how it's going to work. And then within a matter of days, within like 10, 12 days, the money will actually get delivered because it's been released, and it gets put into people's bank account, or it gets delivered to a contractor or an architect. And so this is something that we've been creating, something we've been building, and now we're at the point where we're prepared to start the distribution. So now here we are, and you're frustrated, you're angry, you see parts of the program you don't like, some of it doesn't make any sense to you. I don't dispute your feelings, your emotions, the realities of your situation. I can't know what happened in your letter. We'll go through each one to try to get you to the right place. That's our commitment. I can't tell you it's happening tomorrow. I can't tell you it's happening tomorrow. I can tell you that we have a lot of folks working on this every single day, and that we're doing a pretty good job of putting this program together. And as frustrated as you are with it, we believe it's going to work. And we believe we are right there. How do we know that? Because we just started the process of issuing the checks and doing the closing and finalizing people's awards. And we're hearing and we're seeing the different problems that people have. We're seeing the individual experiences that every one of you might have had. The frustrations that you have to be asked for a document twice because you gave it once and it doesn't seem to be there, or some other issue, or whatever, or someone's not eligible for this program because it's not a primary house, or there's some other issue that doesn't make any sense to you and might not make sense to us either. But we're taking the program as we get it. And so,
We have the housing recovery program. We are poised to now start issuing these checks and start this process with full vigor. I mean, it's coming, it's here. We need to work with you, each individually. And you know, I can't, in a forum like this, say that I'm going to be able to take your questions and explain your particular issue. I'm willing to stay and hear what you have to say. I'm telling you that we will speak to each individual if you call our program and you engage with us, and we're going to get you to the finish line. So that's what the program is. There's also an IMA program, a mortgage assistance program, that is now opening up. We heard that a lot of the FEMA dollars for rent is running out or run out, and so we now have a program that we've just opened, which is called the IMA program, which will pay if you are not living in your home and you're paying your mortgage, and you have and now you're paying rent on top of that. We will pay you the rent or the mortgage, whichever is less, and we will give you those dollars. And that lasts for up to 20 months.
Is this a different application that you can fill out?
It's part of an application through your caseworker. If you've not asked for the IMA program and you need it, you can call your caseworker immediately tomorrow and tell them that you're interested in applying for the IMA program. Again, we're giving people money who are out of their homes or will be out of their homes. And by the way, you could have been in your home and then you had to leave again because now there's construction. You're still eligible for the program.
Is it a separate application?
It's not a separate application. It's part of the. You have to ask for it. So you have to speak to your caseworker about it, and they will include you in that process. But it's the same. It's the same caseworker. It's the same New York Rising program. It's the same paperwork, but you have to ask for the IMA program. Yeah.
Did you ever deal with a caseworker? Because my caseworker knows tiddlywinks. Every time I call him, he goes, I don't know. And every time I call him and ask him a question, you know what he tells me? I went in to give, my printer wasn't working, so I came in to give him paperwork that he asked for. He tells me, you come barging into my office. I said, excuse me? So you have to, unless you, I would love you to come with me to deal with my caseworker. Because when I went in, I go, here are my IMA papers. I took an hour to fill them out. He goes, can you answer the question? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know anything about it. That was his answer to me.
Right.
Okay, so then.
You know, on behalf of the state, I would apologize for that. I can't tell you.
I Federal Express all the paperwork over to the people in Melville. I called him back a week later. Can you tell me if there's anything missing? Oh, I don't know. I said, okay, well, can you email the people and let them know? Then he tells me what it is. I said, can you tell me exactly what it is? He goes, read your email that explains it. I go, so what if I don't understand what you want? Along with my letter that I got from my awards letter. I called him that day. I said, I kind of don't understand. He goes, read it. I go, what if I'm blind and I can't read it? He goes, well, sorry, you need to read your paperwork. This is the answers that we get. I'm very happy with my letter. I submit everything. From now on, I email him because he told me, do not call me, email me. So, you know what? I email him and I tell him, please confirm. So I get all my paperwork back. He tells me I confirmed with everything, but you know what? He knows nothing. But he can sit there in his desk and do his.
All right, so I get the point. I get the point. I think.
When I ask them, they don't know anything. So you're telling us to go to them when their question is, I'd love to have their job.
Right.
Because you know what all the answer is? I don't know.
All right, I got it.
And you know what Cuomo told me? I don't know.
I got it. Again, I can't tell you that every caseworker is going to be perfect. I can't tell you that they're going to have all these. All right, well, actually, listen, there's, okay, I got the point. Let me move. No, ma'am, I got the point. I got it. So there's going to be individuals that might not work out for any applicant. We want to make sure that everybody is dealt with professionally and fairly, and we were going to make sure that you get through the process like everybody else. The IMA program was just approved by HUD 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. So we just, hold on, so we just got the final authorization to launch that program. It was part of our original action statement. In order to actually give checks, we needed to write out the program. They now approved it. And so that's something that's fairly new. The caseworker might not have known when you spoke to them last what the status was. The caseworkers are now being debriefed on the IMA program.
The state covers the responses to the comments?
What was that in the back? I'm sorry, the woman in the back.
Is it gonna take another year to get any money?
No. Like I said, we just started the distribution of funds. I can't say, hold on, I can't say that every person.
I'm talking about the program that you're talking about right now, that you're just with the IMA.
Right.
Is he gonna take another year to get any of that money as well?
No, no.
How long is it gonna take? Sorry, how long is it gonna take?
The money is available once you're in the program, you sign up. I anticipate.
It's not available until you've closed for New York Rising.
Yes, that's exactly. Really? That's exactly what I heard.
You have to be in our program. You have to have submitted, not closed, you have to submitted. You have to have submitted, you're completely submitted.
You need to tell your caseworker to write information, because one caseworker says one thing, another caseworker says another thing. One caseworker in Babylon said to us, oh, no, we're already giving out IDMA money. Another, the same caseworker goes, oh, we're only closing on the people that are already in their homes, not out of their homes. And this is quote unquote from a caseworker. We have the email.
Okay, so I can't tell you what every caseworker said, and I agree that there's some confusion, and I agree that it's important that we try to make sure every caseworker has correct information and can speak with continuity. Yeah.
Can the rules be posted somewhere so that we can all read them? Because
Your people don't know the rules. Your people don't know nothing.
you don't have
Right.
the
The website has the rules as they are, and remember, there's a lot of these rules get amended and changed. As we run into problems with the application of certain rules, we go back up to HUD and we say, this is not working here for whatever reason. And we try to get some relief. We try to get a waiver from their program. We've been doing that time and again. And so there are, we find out that one part of it just is not working for whatever reason, and then we look to make adjustments and we try to get approval, and that takes additional time. And so yes, there is some confusion when remember, we're creating this program from scratch. And so there are some complications and there is some confusion. But does that mean that the program is a failure? I don't think so. I think what that means is that there's going to be some complications and some confusion, and we need to work our way through it. Again, we're now at the point where we're starting to distribute the money. So I'm hoping that if we have a meeting here in a few months, we're going to see that a lot of people are now satisfied that they've got money, that they're through the system, and there's still going to be other issues, right? There's always going to be something that doesn't work, but we're going to try to make sure we get everyone.
HUD and the SBA contradict.
Yes, ma'am.
I've spoken to my caseworker, who seems to know what she's speaking about, and she clearly has made it clear to us that she's expressed that the policies and procedures have not been worked out at the IMA program. That is the reason, because we are paying rent and mortgage.
Right, and like I said, it was just finalized. It was just final approval was just finalized a week from last Monday. A week from Monday.
the responses to the comments?
Okay, it just was finalized, approved from HUD. It needs to filter down to the hundreds of caseworkers. We're now writing up the policies that HUD has approved. They're being distributed to all the caseworkers. As people have applied, there's about 40 people that have actually previously submitted. Other people are now gathering and putting their names in. Those rules will become a lot more clear as we get them fully distributed and as they're made available to all the caseworkers. It's a process.
How do you reconcile the SBA with HUD, since the SBA money, their own guidelines say that it cannot be used for mitigation, yet it's
Right.
being called a duplication of benefits?
Yeah, I can't reconcile that. That's a federal HUD regulation that I could say that there's not a lot of people agree with. I can't tell you that I agree with it.
SBA says the opposite. You can't.
SBA, and just so everyone knows what we're talking about here, SBA, the Small Business Administration, usually comes onto the scene pretty quickly. The way it comes, first you have FEMA comes onto the scene, then you have SBA, and SBA will authorize low-interest loans to people in need to help them reconstruct or repair their homes. Hold on. So what happens is, under the federal guidelines, if you want to get money even from FEMA, but ultimately for CDBG dollars as well. Remember, we're CDBG dollars. It's a different form of federal dollar. In order to get those dollars, you need to exhaust your other access to grants and monies that exist. SBA, under the federal guidelines, is considered to be a duplication of money because it's considered a grant, even though you have to pay it back. It doesn't make sense. Certainly to most people it doesn't make sense. And there's an inequity there because the neighbor who didn't get the SBA loan because they weren't eligible gets a free grant from us, and the person who got a $100,000 loan has to pay it off. I can tell you there's not a lot of people in the state from the governor on down who thinks that that's fair.
Then why
But
can't you change it? You have the power to
he
change
doesn't have the power to change it. It's a federal.
Yes, he does, according to the guy from HUD. It's once it's down to the state level, it's up to the
This
governor
is not the
to
case.
sign it off.
Secretary Donovan said that it's in a newspaper article on Newsday recently that There's the local municipalities, the local recipient, which is the state of New York, and then the local governments can come up with their own policy implementation. What he didn't say is that these rules are steadfast. If you take an SBA loan, that money must be considered part of the grant that you got, must be deducted from our grant.
But
However,
it may not be used for mitigation. It's in the regulations. You cannot use it to lift your home. State, federal regulation.
The SBA rule, under SBA, I've read the law too, and the SBA says if you get the grant money, if you get the loan money from SBA for reconstruction of your home, that counts as a duplication under when being compared or contrasted with FEMA and CDBG money.
Reconstruction.
So the HUD requirements, again, I didn't make it, I don't particularly agree with it, I don't like the idea of having to enforce it, but I'm telling you, that's what the rule is. I can agree with you all night long. The rule is the rule. Now, what we're doing is looking at the question of what happens when people did not take the SBA loan. What happens if you were awarded $100,000, if you awarded $100,000 and you only took $20,000? Under the original guideline, you had to take, the duplication was the whole 100,000. However, there's an exception written in the law that says if it's a hardship to take the additional money, if it's a hardship, you could be exempt from having to take that money because to pay back the loan creates a hardship. And so the CDBG program, our program, New York Rising program, has taken the position, if you decline that additional money, it's on its face a hardship, because why else would you have declined it? And so there is a form that you need to fill out, and you need to make that declaration. But, because we don't want, by the way, the Inspector General to come to you in 3 years from now and say that you owe, $80,000 to the federal government, right? That's not really how we want this to end. And so we're trying to make sure that people who come to us and have this SBA issue know that if you haven't taken the loan yet, and it's a hardship to take it, you shouldn't take it. Because it's going to be a duplication. You get the caseworker has the form, so whoever's working on your case, they should be able to give you that form.
What if they denied you?
If they denied you a loan, then it's not a duplication, and then we can give you a grant to cover the same cost. So if you got denied, you're in a good place. Let me go back there to help you.
Thanks, Mr. Kevin, for coming here. One is an issue, and then one is a question. The issue, I signed up for the reimbursement program. I got my award letter,
Right.
and so some of my damaged areas, and I upgraded and a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm looking for the reimbursement, and they told me I got to hire the contractors to do that job that's already done.
Right.
So there's an issue there.
So let me just add, and then ask another question. So what he's saying is, you do some of the work, and then you get our letter saying you can't do any more work. We're going to pay the contractor for the work that's going to be finished in a month. And so, and we're still haven't even closed on your case because it's taken us 2 months to do your verification. So what do? And so what we've gone to HUD and asked for a waiver, giving us extra or additional time to allow to pay for the reimbursement. And so we're trying to push it back as far as we can because we know people are busy doing their own. But we're pretty confident that if you haven't received a check from us and you haven't closed from us, that if the work is still going on, you're going to finish in a reasonable amount of time, then that's going to be within our program. So you're going to get a reimbursement. If you finish a piece of your property and you don't do the last phase of it, and that doesn't start until a few months from now, that's going to have to be part of the construction program. But if you finish it, even if you finish it after you started your application, we still anticipate being able to give you. So what's your other point?
The other question, I had my environmental inspection today.
Right.
Question is, before I bought my home, apparently there was asbestos shingles. I have siding over them now.
Right.
I didn't know there was asbestos shingles, and it's apparently might be a problem with me actually receiving the funds until that's rectified. Is the program going to help me rectify that problem? Because it seems like I'm not going to get the money unless that, whatever asbestos or lead paint or whatever they're looking for.
You can do that yourself.
Right.
The homeowner can take the asbestos out themselves. If you got to hire somebody to come and do that.
Well, that's my point. So if I can't get my, I don't have the money to do it.
Right.
And if I can't be awarded the money from
Right.
the New York Rising, how am I supposed to get this?
So remember, we're required again under HUD guidelines to make sure that we do an environmental analysis of every home. We're checking for lead, asbestos. Yeah, there's other issues of mold and some other stuff, but it's really lead and asbestos are the two big issues. Hold on a second. So let me just finish with this. So if you could articulate or prove or establish that that was damaged property and you're taking it down because it was damaged by Sandy, the hope is that that gets included into the total number. If it's something separate, we can't pay for something that's not part of the Sandy damage. But that's the kind of thing where if you have a question about that and you call now, what we do is we put you in touch with it. We have a construction management team. And after you now have your final environmental inspection, you're poised to call back, give them a couple days because they have to upload it into the system, and say, you've now had your final inspection, you have this concern, how does that work? You're going to have a person who's been trained in this for years to sit and go through with you. They're going to have your whole analysis, 30 pages of it in front of them, and they will go through it. They'll spend an hour on the phone with you, whatever it takes. So the next step for you is to make sure that you call up, and it's basically an engineering firm that the state has hired to have people who do this for a living to help navigate you through. The caseworker is not the person to talk to about that anymore. They're not going to be able to guide you through it. Now you need to talk to the review team. So that's what I would suggest. Oh wait, let me come to her and then I'll come back to you.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm actually going through both programs.
Yeah.
And with the repair program, before knowing about that, I had taken the money I had gotten from FEMA, because I didn't have flood insurance, and I replaced my boiler, my hot water heater, and I put the money into the house.
Right.
And then I find out, the Department of Buildings never told me my house was over 51% damage and has to be knocked down. Now, I'm going through the program to rebuild, and they're telling me they're gonna deduct the money from FEMA. But it's not my fault that my house has to be knocked down. That's not duplication of benefits, because I didn't know that I shouldn't have done the work.
Right.
I wouldn't have done the work, and I would have done something else. Right, so that.
Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying.
Now, why should I be penalized
Right.
and that come out of the money that was supposed to come to me?
Certainly something that I'd be prepared to talk to you about.
But I went down to the Department of Buildings and they told me, well, you should have gotten a letter, we have to resend another inspector. I said, why? They said, we can't explain it to you. I got the inspector's name. The reason why they couldn't explain it to me is because they fired that employee.
Right.
And they wouldn't validate any of his inspections.
So your home is going to be completely knocked
My
down.
home has to be knocked down.
So the theory there would be that they pay $5,000 for demolition, pay the 160 a square foot. You come in with the contractor. Hopefully we have a plan that's going to work financially. And then your issue is going to be that some of the money that's being applied to that no longer exists because you used it for replacements that are being knocked down.
It's a Band-Aid to my house,
Right.
because I had no idea that this was the case.
They didn't tell us
That's
till
a
later
very
that this
Right.
was to be done.
Right.
They gave her the money, said, fix what you got to get back.
Right. Right. All right, so I know what you're saying. I don't know what the answer is right now, and that's something that I'll try to speak to you more about. Wait, I promise you I'll come back there.
Are you prioritizing the people that are out of their homes?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, everyone's a priority. If anyone comes to it right now, it's all about who's ready to go. So of the 4,000 applications, anybody that's ready, we're ready to go. So anybody who's ready, we are ready to go with. And so I know you're ready. But and I know that you're ready. I mean that we need to get the verification done, and so we need to meet our criteria. We are now, again, we're frustrated too about the time it's taken to verify the insurance funds, and so I can tell you that we've now reached out to the state insurance agency, state insurance fund, and asked them to let the insurance companies know that this is not a request, this is a requirement, and so it's started to move faster. I can tell you over the last few weeks, some of the log jams have been broken through. We have to do title insurance on every single house. We have to do an historical inspection. We have to do the environmental inspection. So once we get through all that and you agree to the number, we are ready to go. So I know it sounds like a contradiction, but it really does work. So if someone's out of the home though and you're talking to us, we want to do everything we can to get you through. And we have the people to work with. So if you're calling and you have an award letter and you want to speak to our construction management team about what you do next, we have what they're called construction advisors. We will put you in touch with the construction advisor, and they will guide you through the process.
Is that the 1-800 number?
The 1-800 number is a call center, so that's
get the construction?
right. But you asked now for construction advisor. We've just made an agreement with our vendor to put a number of people in place for this. It's been going on for a couple of weeks. It's actually working fairly well. People feel good about it. So we're bringing on some additional construction advisors too, because people are now starting to hear about it. So if you call your caseworker or the Sandy hotline and you say that you need to speak to a construction advisor for a review, the word is a review, of your file, they will put you in touch with the